Welcome to our podcast series, Raising Saints and Forming Scholars, where we delve into your questions about the world of classical education. We were made for truth, beauty, and goodness. Let's talk about it. This episode is part of a series dedicated to our exploration of the richness of our partnership with the Institute for Catholic Liberal Education, otherwise known as ICLE. Last summer, some of the teachers and I were able to enjoy their wonderful annual conference in Pittsburgh. In these videos, I'll be speaking with the teachers about their experiences. These series of episodes are sponsored by Kalik Auto Group, who have been great supporters of our school by being an event sponsor at our gala. Welcome to our Raising Saints and Forming Scholars podcast. I am so delighted to be able to speak to some of our teachers who attended the national conference this summer for the Institute for Catholic Liberal Education. We were treated to a whole week of Catholic classical education at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. And I am here with Mrs. McCleave, our pre-K teacher, and we are just going to share some memories from the conference because it was just so beautiful and full of joy. I thought it would be worth our time to just share some insights with each of our teachers. One of the things that I was asking my teachers is maybe what stood out to you about this conference.
Yes, I've got three main takeaways from the conference. And first and foremost, the daily mass was so beautiful. We went to a church called Epiphany, and it was very, I felt a sense of unity in the Mass, and that was then the theme of every speaker that talked, is when I was sitting and listening to lectures, I felt that unity, one heart, one mind. We are in this together. And it was very comforting to know, all right, we're all on the same page. No one tiptoed around the truth. No one had to use specific language. We, again, have one heart and one mind. And when you think about unity, unity in a family is so important. It's very powerful. Unity in the church is so important and powerful. And unity at your school, at our school.
Yes.
It's all, no one's trying to veer off and do anything outside of the truth, which is, exposing our children to what is good, true, and beautiful.
And, I noticed at the conference you were furiously taking notes, just like I was, but I noticed that too with all their keynote speakers, even though each speaker was directed to a different facet. One, we had a talk on science-based apologetics. We had a talk on the ancient world. We had a talk on the internet and a Catholic anthropology. But you're right, everything always swung around to the same point. And you definitely felt like we were immersed in truth.
Yes.
And beauty and goodness. We were just like bathed in it for a whole week.
Yes.
So it was kind of jarring to get on the plane and leave.
Yes.
So you said you had 3 points.
Okay, so the unity was the main. I went to a lecture with they were comparing a New Testament Bible passage and an Old Testament, and we were to compare them and see differences or anything like that. So instead of the lecturer just telling us and I was taking notes, he put us all in a circle, and it was very Socratic. And so as a preschool teacher, I don't use that method. That's kind of always for the upper grades, but I took away from that as, I know they're so little and young, but I want to put into practice that I'm not just always telling the what, where, when, why, and how. I want to draw out of them their past experiences, to remember what whatever I'm teaching. Then I can say, well, what is this like? What does this remind you of? Do you remember last week we were learning this? Is that, I just want to draw out more questions at their level. And because it was nice not to
be spoon-fed.
Yes, all the people in that room were just feeding off of each other's ideas. And at the 3 and 4 year old age, I can't get that, but I can certainly put into practice a little bit of that.
Well, absolutely. You can lay the foundation for
Yes.
it. And I think every time I go to these conferences, I agree with you. I think you see the Socratic seminar, and it's many, many different ways of being used in the classroom. Every time I go, I see a different way or a different example of using it. And it's always good to remind ourselves what you just said. That's what we're created for as human beings. It's actually the human way of educating, and it sounds kind of crazy to say it, but nowadays a lot of schools don't do the human way anymore.
Right.
And if you go all the way back to Plato and Socrates, that's why we have dialogues, because they recognized the human person is meant to go on the quest for truth with others. We cannot do it alone.
Right.
We need each other. So like you were saying, we all have that back and forth, that dialogue. That is how a real classroom should be. And that's how the human person learns. And we know Jesus did that with his disciples. He asked questions and he pulled it out of them. So I delight in the fact that this is the human way to treat young children.
Right.
So
we're teaching them how to think. Mm-hmm. We're not just inundating them with facts and you've got to learn this by this. We're taking into account that everybody has a developmental way of learning, and
and I'm just going to add to that, what I love about the conference and what you're saying is, I want to highlight a difference. While we're doing the Socratic seminar, we believe there's truth.
Yeah.
We believe. Every time I'm in a classroom, I have an objective, what I want to lead the kids to, and it's beautiful, and it's Jesus himself. So I don't have despair in my heart. I believe there's truth. Yes. And I have been in many a classroom or many an educator's seminar where there's no belief in truth, and kids pick up on that immediately, and they feel that despair.
Right.
And so it's something wonderful to have that Socratic quest, but we know there's an end goal, there's truth, and that's what makes us different.
Yes. Yes, very
much. All right,
much
so how about your third point?
And then the third point was, I was sitting in on a very seasoned teacher, more so than I, and she was showing us exactly what she does in her classroom, which was very interesting, because you get to see the practicality of all that she was doing. And it was kindergarten, first grade level, and I'm, again, preschool, and so I saw things that I do. And so that, my word take from there was affirmation. It was wonderful to be affirmed in what I'm trying to do, because they see me first, and I'm trying to lay foundations for them to be good thinkers and to appreciate everything that God has made and the order of everything. And so it's wonderful to be affirmed. I think my biggest affirmation then is when one of my preschoolers were out on a hike, and all this child could say was, "This is so awesome. This is so beautiful." And that is what, then that made me feel too, like, okay, I'm getting through at even a very young age.
Very important age.
Yeah, it was just an outstanding conference. I had been to one in 2018 with you. There are a lot more people
Yes.
at this one, and that just is very encouraging.
Well, you can feel the momentum of the Catholic classical
Yes.
movement. It's just unfolding right before your very eyes.
Yes.
And the theme of this conference was the joy of Our Lady.
Yes.
And that joy, I mean, we're just going to keep carrying it through.
Yes.
And we're going to bring it to our students. And I'm very grateful that you sat here and shared your experience with us.
Thank you for allowing me to go.
Oh,
That was awesome.
Thank you.